Hi everyone. I wanted to come on and talk a little bit about um, 𝐀𝐜𝐤𝐸s or stuffable items and enrichment, or otherwise known as mental stimulation, and the benefits. So let's kind of use the example of 𝐂𝐤𝐸s. There's a lot of different things out there for stuffable toys compared to 𝐂𝐤𝐸s. I've used a couple of different items, given them to clients that you could use. Some are ideal for feeding your dogs, some are just good for kind of putting a treat in there to keep them busy. But for terms of just referring for this video, I'm just going to use a 𝐂𝐤𝐸 and what I have for examples. I briefly talked in my newsletter about 𝐂𝐤𝐸s and the benefits of them and kind of what I have for literature and examples to give to clients. So, and what I use for my own dog. So 𝐂𝐤𝐸s come in different styles and different, there's millions of different types of 𝐂𝐤E:s, toys, and I'm sure if you have some for your dogs, there's toys. There's the classics, which is this, the red, which everybody knows, in different sizes, and they talk about the average chewers. There's a lot of different ways to use it. When I meet with clients, one of the biggest ways that I tell them that it's great for your dog is to feed them. One of my dogs, who is a fast eater, I was doing a slow feeder, it broke, and I was doing tennis balls, and then they got dirty, and putting water in it, and those all work. And there's a bunch of slow feeders out there, but one of the best things that I use for her, because it's a multi-use tool, is the 𝐂𝐤𝐸s. And so my dog, Mojo, who I'll show you later, she's sitting by the door right now, she wants to go out. And so what I do, and I have an example of how I stuffed it. So this is a large one. She's a 26-pound bug, Boston Terrier Pug mix. This holds half a cup of food. And so in preparation for her next meal, I try to always be prepared for the next meal. However, as soon as she sees the red 𝐂𝐤𝐸, she's like, oh my gosh, it's feeding time. Even when Jackson sees it, he doesn't get fed by a red 𝐂𝐤𝐸, but as soon as he sees this come out, he knows he's getting fed because I get his meal ready and I get her meal ready. So they're like, oh my gosh, it's feeding time. So they know as soon as they see this, it's feeding time. And it's actually pretty funny. So I'll just kind of show you. I won't really show you how we do it because then it's 12 o'clock and it's way too early. I mean, they figure out our routine, but I mean, she's looking at it right now, and I'll have to give her a smaller 𝐂𝐤𝐸 with a biscuit in it, which I'll go into that. But, so I've put a half a cup in kibble in here, put some water through it, and I've actually put a couple of 3 or 4 blueberries on top with some peanut butter in it, and I put it in the freezer. Depending on your dog, you have easy, medium, or hard. Mojo is one of those dogs that needs a lot of challenges. My other dog, Jackson, if it's frozen, he gives up. So he's more of an easy, you just put it in there, you don't freeze it, and he's like, okay, this is super easy. So I'm going to put this back in the freezer. So we'll put it in there, and she's like, okay, we'll be eating soon. So she knows our routine. So that's a large 𝐂𝐤𝐸. So if you're so going from that, I like to suggest to clients, feeding your dogs from a 𝐂𝐤𝐸 is one of the best things that you can do. The benefits are brain stimulation, boredom. So if they're not able to get that it's another way of getting that brain stimulation going. So if you don't have a lot of brain stimulation, or if you don't want to get a slow feeder, but you have a 𝐂𝐤𝐸 and you want to use it for different ways, take out the 𝐂𝐤𝐸, feed them. It takes Mojo to eat it takes her a half an hour to eat a frozen Kong with kibble, with half a cup of kibble. So it kind of gives you an idea. Normally based on, if you were to look at her chart, I try to do the medium size. This is a medium size. This holds about a third of a cup, maybe a little bit less, but she went through this super fast. So it's not enough for her, and she goes through it a lot faster, so I figured she needs a larger one, and which it works for her. So you kind of have to gauge it based on your dog's size, where their canines are, and also their chewing habits. So there's a multi thing, not just based on what's on the package. So that's one of the biggest things. She's getting her enrichment. She's getting that slow feeder. She's taking her time. It's helping her digestive. So that's some of the things. I live in a small apartment, so I don't have as much space for them to run around and play and get that extra exercise as we can go outside for those long walks, especially in this heat. So it's another way for her to get that enrichment with that. Now, one of the things is that, so I take the smaller one, I take this, and I'll put a biscuit in there. So let me see here. Give me 1 second. So I'll take like a little biscuit, I'll break it in half. This is about a quarter of one of those health bars that, is it Blue Buffalo, I think? And I just shove it in there. And this takes her about 15 minutes. Mojo, come here. Okay, go. Go. Take it. Go on. Go get it. Go get it. So I can usually take it, put her in her crate, and she'll go to town on that. So now she's gonna take that and be busy for about 15 minutes or so. So that's another way that I use it. If I just want her to spend some time, oh, she took it. So she took it, she'll spend some time on that and figuring out. So that's a better size for her for just a biscuit. For food, it's too fast for her, or it's too easy for her. So she needs a larger one for her food, but just to kind of get her, through the day, or for that extra, break for kind of like, oh, let me see how I can get this out. That's like 15 minutes. So, and then I've had something like this. If you're ever looking for a different type of feeder, I've used this as a feeder. She's also used this as just kind of like a little frisbee. So this is like another multi-use thing. So Kongs help with weight management. So I use it for Mojo for weight management, her boredom, enrichment to kind of get her thinking. She's 9 years old. Enrichment and mental stimulation you can use at any point. They have senior Kongs for those, dogs that are at the point of being 12 and 13, and their teeth are getting a little weaker. So you can get, and they're about the same thing, same rubber as a puppy one. So if you have a puppy one and you don't want to get a senior one, you could always use that. They have the puppy ones, which look like this, and this is the same size, and this is the same size. This is a large or medium, so this is the same size as the one that I just gave Mojo. So if you want to if you have a senior dog but you have a puppy one, you can just interchange them. And then what they have just come out with, if you're ever interested, is something like this to stuff in, to kind of give them, it's a mess-free one. So going back to the benefits of a Kong or a stuffable toy, it helps with boredom. It's that mental stimulation. It helps with the chewing for those puppies. It helps with barking. So if they're barking throughout the day and they're just kind of like, you know, looking and they're barking at something outside, or they could, because they need that, they need something else to focus on. If you have people come to the door and you need them to focus on something else, they can't bark, they've got something in their mouth. Well, some talented dogs can. It's a way to help with their digestive system if you need a slow feeder, and it also is helping them figure out how to get their food. So you have enrichment, mental stimulation, having them figure out how to get their food, and weight management. So in that instance, you have 2 to 3 different ways for them to work on that. And it helps with their crate training. You're associating, when they're puppies, their crate training with something positive when you use the Kong. I've had dogs just love an empty Kong, you know, just like, oh, let's throw this around. Mojo takes the Kong and feeds it, you know, chews it in the crate when I feed her. So there's nothing wrong with that. Some people don't want to do it in the crate, and that's fine too. It's just another way to help with crate training. You take the Kong, you fill it up with something, and you put it in the crate, and then they go in and they're like, oh, yummy, and associate it with something positive. So that's just 5 to 6 different ways. You can also help it with separation anxiety as well. That's a little bit of a longer process. I've used that with a foster dog. I had started using this with a foster dog to help with separation anxiety, and I used this at the very beginning when I got Mojo for her separation anxiety as well. So there's a lot. Some people just think it's just for chewing and for puppies, with the Kong and getting their brain figured out, but you can use it for all different ages, all different sizes, all different levels of their chewing, all different manners. If you have any questions on this, feel free to reach out to me, and we can I can give you more suggestions, maybe help you put together a plan. If it's separation anxiety, definitely that's something that you would want to look into. It helps with a lot of different behaviors. I've definitely noticed a difference when I have a barking and jumping client and they have these behavior issues, and we start to work into some different enrichment items. Those behaviors improve. So it's not just about working on like the, you know, turning your back and coming up with ideas, but also working in different ways for their brains to work. So those are just some ideas. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. You could email me, or you can message me on Facebook. I'm always available. I hope this helps you. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Bye.